If you're trying to get rid of stubborn belly fat, you're in the right place. Today, I'm going to walk you through the easiest way to start burning belly fat as quickly as possible. This is designed especially for beginners, so don't worry about complicated rules or confusing nutrition plans. I'll cover the basics that actually matter. Over the years, after helping countless people, I've learned that success isn't about knowing everything. It's about focusing on a few key habits that make the biggest difference. There are 5 practical tips I'm going to share that you won't usually find in books or generic diet guides. These come from real experience and from seeing what works and what causes people to fail. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is getting buried in all the details. They spend so much time trying to understand every little part of keto that they become frustrated and eventually quit. It doesn't have to be that way. My goal is to simplify the process so you can start with confidence, avoid the common mistakes, and keep making progress instead of hitting those frustrating plateaus where fat loss suddenly stops. Learning from other people's experiences can save you a lot of time and frustration. That's exactly what this video is about. I want you to understand the most important concepts first. Later, if you want to dive deeper, you can always explore more detailed information. But right now, let's build a strong foundation with the essentials. So what's the real objective of following a ketogenic lifestyle? The main goal is to lower your insulin levels as much as possible. That's the key. When insulin stays low, your body becomes much better at burning stored fat for energy. This also helps you enter a metabolic state called ketosis. Ketosis is the condition where your body produces ketones. These ketones are created when your body burns fat instead of relying on carbohydrates for fuel. The more ketones your body makes, the more efficiently you're burning fat, which means you'll have a much easier time reducing stubborn fat around your waist. Now let's keep the nutrition part simple. The first nutrient to pay attention to is carbohydrates. Many people recommend staying somewhere between 30 and 50 grams of carbs each day. But if your goal is to lose belly fat as fast as possible, I suggest keeping your daily carbs below 20 grams. Lower carb intake generally helps your body enter ketosis more quickly and keeps insulin levels lower. Next comes protein. The right amount depends on several factors, including your body size, age, activity level, metabolism, and how many meals you eat each day. For example, if you're following OMAD, which means eating 1 meal a day, you'll naturally eat more protein during that single meal. If you train intensely or build muscle, you'll probably need a little extra protein as well. For most people, though, there's an easy way to estimate it without doing any math. Simply eat a portion of protein that's about the size of your palm at each meal. That's an easy guideline that works well for the average person. Then there's fat. On a ketogenic diet, fat becomes your primary source of energy and usually makes up around 75% of your daily calorie intake. Don't worry about calculating every gram or trying to hit exact macro numbers. We'll keep things practical instead of turning every meal into a math exercise. As we go through these tips, you'll naturally understand how much healthy fat your meal should include. Now let's move on to the first and probably one of the most helpful tips. Instead of stressing over every gram of carbohydrates you eat, make your life easier by choosing foods that are naturally low in digestible carbs. Leafy green vegetables are perfect for this, especially salads. Most of the carbohydrates in leafy greens come from fiber. Fiber has little to no effect on insulin, making it one of the best carbohydrate sources when your goal is staying in ketosis and maximizing fat burning. Because of that, you don't need to obsess over counting every carb from your salad. In fact, I encourage you to eat plenty of it. Aim for around 7 cups of salad every day. It sounds like a lot at first, but it's actually easier than most people expect. Here's a simple trick that makes eating large salads much easier. After preparing your salad, chop everything into smaller pieces using a salad chopper or knife. Once it's finely chopped, it becomes much easier and faster to eat, and you'll have no problem finishing a large bowl. So rather than getting overwhelmed by tracking every vegetable, make leafy greens the foundation of your meals. You can also add ingredients like feta cheese or other keto-friendly toppings to make your salad more satisfying while keeping it enjoyable to eat. When you're making your salad, don't forget to add a generous amount of olive oil or a simple vinaigrette. Just make sure the dressing you choose has little to no sugar, ideally 1 gram of carbs or less per serving. These days, it's easy to find low-carb dressings, but many popular options are packed with hidden sugars that can quietly interfere with your progress. Now, you might be wondering why I'm putting so much emphasis on eating salad. After all, keto is known as a low-carb diet, right? That's true, but simply cutting carbs isn't enough. The version of keto I recommend focuses on more than just lowering insulin. It also prioritizes giving your body the nutrients it needs to function at its best. Lowering carbs has plenty of benefits, but pairing that with nutrient-rich foods is what makes the approach much healthier and more sustainable. Leafy greens are loaded with important nutrients. They're an excellent source of potassium, magnesium, vitamin C, vitamin K1, folate, and a wide variety of plant compounds known as phytonutrients. These natural compounds provide benefits that go beyond standard vitamins and minerals and support your overall health in many different ways. Eating a large salad every day while following keto can help reduce common problems people experience in the beginning. It may lower the chances of muscle cramps, especially in your calves, reduce feelings of fatigue, ease symptoms often called the keto flu, and improve insulin resistance. Better insulin sensitivity makes it even easier for your body to keep insulin low and burn stored fat more efficiently. On top of that, getting these nutrients can leave you feeling more energized throughout the day. Here's another simple habit that makes a big difference. Eat your salad before anything else. Starting your meal with salad makes it much easier to finish a large portion. If you eat your protein first, you'll probably feel full before you get through enough vegetables. By flipping the order, you'll naturally eat more nutrient-dense foods without forcing yourself. If 7 cups of salad feels overwhelming at first, don't stress. Eat as much as you comfortably can and gradually increase the amount over time. You can also support your electrolyte intake with a high-quality electrolyte supplement if needed. So the first takeaway is simple. Begin each meal with a generous serving of salad. Now let's move to protein. A good place to start is by eating a serving that's roughly the size of your palm. From there, you can adjust based on your body and lifestyle. Larger, younger, or more active people usually need a bit more protein, while older individuals or those with a slower metabolism may do better with a slightly smaller portion. Balance is important. Too much protein can leave you feeling heavy and sluggish, and in some cases, it may make it harder to stay in ketosis. On the other hand, eating too little protein isn't helpful either because your body still needs enough to maintain muscles, tissues, and overall health. The goal is to find the amount that's right for you. One mistake many beginners make is choosing the leanest protein available. Instead, look for protein sources that naturally contain healthy fats. Fat and protein are meant to work together on a ketogenic diet. If you're eating ground beef, choose a higher fat blend instead of the lean version. If you're having fish, go for fatty varieties like salmon or sardines instead of very lean fish. When eating chicken, don't automatically remove the skin. Cuts that include the skin and natural fat are generally a better fit for keto than plain skinless chicken breast. The reason is simple. Lean protein tends to trigger a stronger insulin response compared to protein that comes with healthy fats. A good example is whey protein powder, which is extremely lean and can raise insulin more than many whole food protein sources. That's why it's not my first choice. Whenever possible, choose proteins that naturally include fat. Pork is often higher in fat than many other meats, and if you're enjoying a steak, don't trim away all the fat that comes with it. Those natural fats actually support your ketogenic goals. Now let's talk about dietary fat itself. If you're just getting started with keto, increasing healthy fats during your meals is one of the smartest things you can do. You can get those fats from foods like pecans, macadamia nuts, olives, avocados, extra olive oil, or MCT oil. A lot of people immediately ask the same question. If I eat more fat, won't that slow down weight loss? Surprisingly, at first, the answer can be yes. That's because the initial purpose of keto isn't simply to make the scale move. The first priority is helping your body switch from relying on sugar for fuel to relying on fat. This next point is incredibly important, so if you've been distracted, pay close attention. For the best results, healthy keto should be combined with intermittent fasting. Here's why. If you measure your blood ketones, you'd see that the scale starts at 0 and rises upward. Following keto by itself may increase your ketone levels to around 1, 2, or maybe 3. That's good, but it's usually not the deepest level of fat burning your body is capable of. If you want to reach much higher ketone levels, around 4, 5, or even 6, you'll usually need to combine keto with intermittent fasting. Exercise can help too, but for now, let's keep the focus on fasting. When you combine low carb eating with intermittent fasting, the results become much more powerful. Your body spends more time burning stored fat, which is exactly what you want if your goal is to shrink belly fat as efficiently as possible. Of course, fasting is much easier when you're not constantly hungry or fighting cravings. That's why increasing healthy fats during your meals is so important. Fat keeps you satisfied for much longer, making it easier to go several hours without thinking about food. A simple way to begin is by skipping breakfast. Try extending the time before your first meal and aim to eat around noon. Then have your second meal around 6 in the evening. As your body adapts, you can gradually shorten your eating window. Eventually, some people naturally transition to eating just one meal a day, often called OMAD. When your meals contain enough healthy fat, you'll feel full and satisfied. Within just a few days, many people notice that their hunger drops dramatically. Cravings become much weaker, and fasting starts to feel surprisingly easy. Why does this happen? Because your body has finally learned to burn its own stored fat for fuel instead of constantly depending on the next meal. For many people, that's a completely new experience. This leads to one of the biggest rules for successful fat loss. If you're genuinely not hungry, don't eat. Many people sabotage their own progress because they're still following the old habit of eating simply because the clock says it's time. They're eating low carb foods, but they're still forcing themselves to have meals even when they have no appetite. That's a huge mistake. If your hunger has disappeared, that's actually a sign your body is burning stored fat. It's using the energy you've already been carrying around, especially the fat around your waist and even the fat stored in your liver. Why interrupt that process with another meal if your body doesn't need one? Every time you eat, you're giving your body a fresh source of fuel. Before long, your appetite returns, and you've shortened the amount of time your body could have spent burning its own fat stores. Every time you eat, your body releases insulin, even if the meal is completely keto friendly. That insulin response temporarily slows ketosis because higher insulin levels signal your body to stop relying as much on stored fat for energy. This is exactly why intermittent fasting is such a powerful partner to keto, and why following your natural hunger cues is so important. Once your body adapts to burning fat and you notice that your appetite has dropped, it's time to make another adjustment. At that stage, you don't need to keep adding large amounts of extra fat to every meal. You can begin cutting back on things like extra MCT oil, handfuls of nuts, or additional oils. Why? Because if your body has two fuel sources available, fat from your food and fat already stored on your body, it will usually use the dietary fat first. But your goal isn't simply to burn the fat you're eating. Your goal is to burn the fat you've been carrying around, especially the stubborn fat around your waist. That's why the amount of fat you eat should change depending on where you are in the process. At the beginning of keto, eating more healthy fat makes the transition much easier because it keeps hunger under control and helps your body adapt. Once you've reached the stage where cravings are gone, fasting feels natural and fat burning is well underway. You don't need to overload your meals with extra fat anymore. That doesn't mean switching to a low-fat diet. Healthy fats are still essential. It simply means relying more on the natural fats that already come with foods like meat, fish, eggs, and other whole food protein sources, instead of constantly adding extra fat on top. The only exception may be people with very fast metabolisms, who often tolerate higher fat intake without slowing their progress. Another important piece of the puzzle is nutrition. As you begin eating fewer meals through intermittent fasting, it becomes even more important to make every meal count. Instead of eating 3 meals plus snacks throughout the day, you may eventually be eating only 2 meals, or even one. That means each meal has to provide plenty of vitamins, minerals, and other essential nutrients. On top of that, being in ketosis can increase your body's need for certain nutrients compared to before. For example, B vitamins become especially important because they support your body's energy production. One excellent source is nutritional yeast. You don't need a specific brand, just choose one that isn't fortified with synthetic vitamins if possible. Electrolytes are another priority. Your body needs enough sodium, potassium, and magnesium to function properly while you're adapting to ketosis. Don't underestimate the importance of sea salt. If you aren't getting enough sodium, you may start feeling weak, tired, or mentally foggy. Simply adding a little more sea salt to your meals can often make a noticeable difference. The good news is that if you're consistently eating large salads every day, you're already supplying your body with generous amounts of potassium, magnesium, and several other minerals, which reduces the likelihood of running into electrolyte related problems. The fifth tip has nothing to do with counting carbs or tracking macros. It's about making this a way of life that you actually enjoy. The goal isn't to suffer through a diet, it's to create a routine that leaves you feeling better every day. As your body becomes healthier, you'll likely notice clearer thinking, more consistent energy, a better mood, and of course, a smaller waistline. Those improvements become powerful motivation to stick with the plan. Still, it's completely normal to miss sweet treats from time to time.